January 26, 1945. Near the frozen village of Holtzwihr, France, a 19-year-old American lieutenant crouched behind the burning wreck of a tank destroyer. Snow hissed around him as artillery shells tore the forest apart. His rifle ammunition was gone. His men, wounded, scattered, or dead, had already pulled back. Before him, a column of German infantry and armor nearly 200 strong advanced through the smoke. And yet Audie Murphy refused to retreat. He climbed onto the blazing M10 tank destroyer, its fuel and ammunition still burning inside. He manned the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on top. The steel beneath his boots was on fire. He didn't care. And there, alone against an entire German company, he began to fight. Audie Murphy was born in Kingston, Texas in 1925. He was small, quiet, and poor, one of 12 children in a sharecropper family. He learned to shoot, not for sport, but for survival. When his father abandoned the family, Audie became the man of the house at 13. He hunted rabbits and deer to keep his siblings alive. He never finished school. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, he was 16, too young to enlist. He tried anyway. The Marines rejected him for being underweight. The Navy turned him down for being too short. Only the Army finally said yes. He weighed just 112 pounds. He barely reached 5 feet 5 inches, but beneath that quiet frame was something no recruiter could measure resolve. Murphy arrived in North Africa in 1943 as part of the 3rd Infantry Division. At first, he was just another private in a sea of uniforms. He rarely spoke, but his eyes, cold alert, missed nothing. When his unit landed in Sicily, he saw combat for the first time. He was terrified. Everyone was. But unlike others, he didn't freeze. He fought with calm, measured precision. When a German machine gun pinned down his squad, Murphy crawled forward alone and took it out with a single grenade. By the time the Italian campaign ended, he was no longer just a boy from Texas. He was a soldier, one the men trusted to lead them out of hell. In August 1944, Murphy's unit landed in southern France. The invasion went fast until it didn't. Near the small town of WW2, his platoon was ambushed by enemy fire from a hillside. Murphy ordered his men to stay low. Then he crawled forward by himself, using the brush for cover. He spotted a machine gun nest, then another. He moved silently from one to the next, throwing grenades, firing short bursts from his carbine. And when the smoke cleared, he'd killed or captured 24 Germans. He was 19 years old. His commander recommended him for the Distinguished Service Cross, but when asked about the action, Murphy only shrugged and said, "They were shooting at my friends. I just got mad." By late 1944, the war in Europe had turned cold and brutal. The forests of eastern France were filled with fog, and the German army, though retreating, fought like a cornered beast. Murphy had already been wounded twice. He refused evacuation both times. He simply taped his bandages tighter and went back to the line. His comrades began to notice something about him, the way he stayed unnervingly calm under fire. Bullets whistled past, mortars exploded nearby, and Murphy would simply reload, aim, and fire. Nothing seemed to touch him. They started calling him the Ghost. And then came January 26, 1945. Murphy and his unit were dug in near Holtzwihr, holding a thin line against advancing German forces. At dawn, tanks and infantry appeared out of the fog, at least 6 tanks with hundreds of men. The 3rd Infantry was outnumbered, outgunned, and low on ammo. Murphy ordered his men to fall back to a defensive position in the woods. He stayed behind to direct artillery fire. But soon, German shells struck the M10 tank destroyer beside him. It caught fire. Fuel poured down its side, burning bright orange against the snow. Murphy climbed onto it. He called in artillery coordinates by radio shells landing dangerously close, nearly on top of him. Then, with his left hand still holding the receiver, he grabbed the .50 caliber machine gun with his right and opened fire. Wave after wave of German infantry fell in front of him. He cut down entire squads trying to flank his position. One tank tried to circle around. Murphy destroyed its crew with a burst to the hatch. For nearly an hour, he held the line alone. Bullets tore through his jacket. Shrapnel grazed his leg. He kept fighting until the machine gun finally jammed. When the last German soldier retreated, Murphy climbed down, limped back through the snow, and calmly organized a counterattack. When reinforcements arrived, they found him standing among smoking wrecks and bodies, his face blackened with soot. He had killed or wounded over 50 enemy soldiers alone. For his actions that day, Audie Murphy received the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military award. By the end of the war, he had also earned the Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, 2 Bronze Stars, and the French Legion of Honor. He became the most decorated American soldier of World War II, but medals don't heal the mind. When Murphy returned home, he carried invisible scars, nightmares, flashbacks, sleepless nights. He had survived the war, but part of him was still fighting it. Hollywood turned him into an icon. He starred in more than 40 films, including To Hell and Back, the movie adaptation of his own autobiography. But fame could not quiet the noise in his head. Friends said he often slept with a pistol under his pillow. He spoke softly, smiled rarely, and never boasted about the war. When asked how he survived, he simply said, "You just stay alive somehow, that's all." On May 28, 1971, Audie Murphy's plane crashed in the mountains of Virginia. He was 46 years old. He was buried with full honors at Arlington National Cemetery. His grave, marked by a simple white stone, is one of the most visited in the entire cemetery, second only to John F. Kennedy's. Today, the name Audie Murphy still stands as a symbol not of victory but of endurance. The boy who once lied about his age to join the Army became the man who held a battlefield by himself. He didn't fight for glory. He fought for the men beside him. And when the smoke cleared, he stood alone, the smallest man in the platoon, but the largest in courage.